Every Star Wars antagonist worth their salt needs a sufficiently menacing starfighter. Darth Vader has the TIE Advanced, Darth Maul has the Sith Infiltrator, Count Dooku's got his Solar Sailor, and General Grievous has the Soulless One. Grievous's personal starfighter appears in Revenge of the Sith and in a few episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars, but it makes quite the impression for a craft with so little screen time. The Soulless One was also a very versatile ship, and in this video, we'll be taking a closer look at it.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The Soulless One was a mollified Belbor Lab 22 starfighter, a class of heavy starfighter made by Fethan Otro Scalable Assemblies, Techno-Union member company based on Utapau. Fethan Otro designed the Belbor Lab 22 to complement its Porax 38 starfighters, which it produced for Utapau's Planetary Defense Force, but the Soulless One was custom made for General Grievous shortly before the Clone Wars. Grievous, who apparently had an appreciation for Utapauan starships, also commissioned a variant of the Porax 38, the Rogue class starfighter, to be piloted by his Magna Guards. Soulless One typically flew with a squadron of these craft known as the Escort Flight, which was composed of the Confederacy's most elite Magna Guard pilots. As befitting a craft custom built for the Supreme Commander of the CIS, the Soulless One was a very versatile ship. Grievous was able to command his forces and monitor tactical chatter from its cockpit, and its onboard hyperdrive was top of the line, allowing Grievous to make quick trips between many fleets under his command. The Soulless One was, of course, equipped for combat, but Grievous didn't use it all that much as a proper starfighter. He preferred to either fight his enemies hand to hand or oversee their destruction from the bridge of a warship, and he mostly used the Soulless One as a shuttle, often to flee battles that he stood no chance of winning, which led some of his enemies to nickname the craft the Spineless One. It's worth noting that the Soulless One wasn't the only Belbor Lab 22 in Separatist service. As a Techno-Union member, Fethan Otro was contracted to build several classes of starfighter for the Confederacy over the course of the Clone Wars, with the Belbor Lab 22 being one of them. Fethan Otro also built two variants of the craft specifically for the Confederacy, the Belbor Lab 23 Heavy Assault Craft and the Belbor Lab 24 Strike Bomber, both of which closely resembled the Belbor Lab 22 and the Soulless One. If you've played the original Battlefront 2, you might remember the Belbor Lab 24 from the game's space maps. The Soulless One consisted of two tall, bulbous wing-like structures attached to a long central section, all densely armored. The craft was less than 7 meters long, even smaller than the TIE Interceptor and other relatively tiny starfighters. The main reactor appeared to have been located toward the front of the central section, while auxiliary power systems were located in the outboard sections. The craft's main ion thrusters sat just under the cockpit, and their trajectory could be adjusted with a rear-mounted thrust vectoring fin, which flipped up when the Soulless One landed. The wing sections each featured a pair of auxiliary thrusters, as well as lateral thrust ducts for added maneuverability and last-minute course correction. All these thrusters gave the Soulless One incredible speed and maneuverability. It had a maximum in-atmosphere speed of 1,100 km per hour, and was even more agile than the famed Jedi Interceptor. This helped Grievous quickly escape battles that were turning against him, allowing him to get some distance from his enemies before he jumped to hyperspace. During the Clone Wars, starfighters with integral hyperspace capability were somewhat rare, and the Soulless One was one of only a few Separatist craft to have it. The ship was equipped with an ultra-fast, top-of-the-line Class 2 hyperdrive located just in front of the cockpit, which allowed Grievous to cross large swaths of the galaxy in just a matter of hours. This was a big improvement over the original Belbor Lab 22's Class 6 hyperdrive, and it was faster than anything any standard issue Republic starfighter had equipped. The Soulless One's cockpit, located toward the starfighter's rear, could only seat a single pilot, but it was fairly roomy, featured full life support systems, and was hooked up to highly sophisticated sensors and communications transceivers. The craft's main sensors were located in armored cones at the front of the craft and provided Grievous with a wealth of tactical and astrographical information while in combat. His ship's communications transceivers, meanwhile, were some of the best in the galaxy, designed to give Grievous full access to the Separatist battlenet from just about anywhere. Thus, from the cockpit of his starfighter, Grievous could monitor and issue orders to CIS forces all over the galaxy, and he could also tap into Republic and Pirate holonet frequencies as well, allowing him to eavesdrop on the enemy and avoid battles he couldn't win. The Soulless One also had built-in sensor jammers, which made it hard for enemy fleets to spot and doubly hard for Republic forces to listen in on his own communications. The Soulless One was heavily armored on just about every facing, and Grievous had an extra layer of impervium armor added as an extra precaution, which meant that this little ship could shrug off shots from anything short of a turbo laser. To augment the ship's defensive capabilities even further, the Soulless One also had deflector shields, with the shield generator located just aft of the cockpit. As if all that wasn't enough, the Soulless One was also armed. It boasted a pair of triple-barreled rapid-firing laser cannons, though Star Wars: The Clone Wars depicts it with single-barreled laser cannons instead, perhaps indicating that the triple guns were added in a late war retrofit. These could tear through just about anything or anyone unwise enough to get in Grievous's way, and when coupled with the Soulless One's sensor jammers and other defensive systems, they made this starfighter one of the toughest in the galaxy. The Soulless One's history was about as colourful as General Grievous's. The craft made appearances all throughout the Clone Wars, beginning with the first Battle of Geonosis, when Grievous used it to flee the battle following Count Dooku's order to retreat. On the way out, the Soulless One was spotted by the clone commandos of Delta Squad, who transmitted video of it to their superiors. Initially, Republic analysts were unable to identify the ship. Unbeknownst to them and the men of Delta Squad, it was their first glimpse of the Republic's most fearsome enemy. After Grievous made his public debut in the Battle of Hypori, the Soulless One was seen more often. Grievous regularly used it to retreat from battles that weren't going his way, as exemplified by several seen in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. In the Battle of Khalida Nebula, Grievous used the Soulless One to pursue Anakin Skywalker's freighter, the Twilight, as it fled the Malevolence, and he later used it to retreat once the Malevolence was destroyed. A few weeks later, Grievous used the ship to flee the Battle of Bothawoy and to escape the destruction of Skytop Station. In the latter example, Grievous piloted the craft with only one hand, as he had lost one in the battle aboard the station. Grievous piloted the Soulless One in a late war mission to Utapau, yet again to pursue a transport carrying Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. After this mission, the Confederacy began to set up shop on Utapau, turning Pau City into a redoubt for the Separatist Council. While his forces were deployed on Utapau, Grievous kept the Soulless One on a private landing pad in Pau City. During the battle, Grievous fled to this pad during his battle with Obi-Wan Kenobi, only to be fatally shot mere meters from his escaped craft. But the Soulless One's history doesn't end with Grievous's death. After the Battle of Utapau, the ship was commandeered by Obi-Wan Kenobi, who used its sensor jammers to run the Republic blockade around Utapau after the issuance of Order 66. He used it to rendezvous with Bail Organa aboard the corvette Sundered Heart, and after the mission to Mustafar, Kenobi took it on one last flight, this time to Nar Shaddaa, where Kenobi sold the Soulless One to pay for passage to Tatooine. Imperial authorities later tracked down and seized the ship for use in the NK Necrosis project, which aimed to implant the remnants of Grievous's mechanical body with a droid consciousness. But NK Necrosis itself was destroyed by a group of spacers, who then stole the Soulless One. The whereabouts of the craft after this incident are entirely unknown. So, that's the story of the Soulless One, the personal starfighter of General Grievous. But what do you think? Are there other ships you'd like us to analyze? Free to post your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.